I'm your host. This is Daily, or this is Daily. I'm your host, or this is host. I'm your Daily. That one doesn't quite work. Well, today kind of had a particular subject bouncing around the head, and I have not come up with an answer yet. So I'm just gonna kind of talk and see if I can come up with something. If you hear that bird, that is actually more than one bird, and that was the same chicks that you were hearing like a week ago or week and a half. Their lungs are growing, they're getting a deeper little, and they're obviously getting bigger because the parent birds actually struggle to fit in the little hole where they are. Sometimes they just sit outside and drop the food in that way. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today was labels. What are they? What are they for? Are they inherently good? Are they inherently bad? And I'm pretty sure I actually just came up with an answer already by phrasing the question that way. So let's see. What is a label? A label is kind of it imparts knowledge in an efficient, summarized fashion. When I ask the better half if she likes labels, she's like, on the food, absolutely, I like to know what I'm buying. So at that point, a label provides information that is not easily accessible. And in that instance, labels on food, I would expand that out to labels of what individual items make up a manufactured product, whether that is, what is your shirt made out of? Is it cotton? Is it polyester? Whatever. And I would call that the most basic, fundamental part of labels. And then as a society or as a neighborhood, we've expanded the use of labels. It's the same general purpose. It is designed to get a lot of information, summarize it all package it into a label, and voila, there you go. The problem that I have with it is a lot of times we use them too much. And we use them for subjective things. I feel like labeling based on subjectivity defeats the entire purpose of a label. I mean, that essentially defeats the entire purpose of stating anything concrete, anything subjective in a concrete manner. So you can, let's go with nationality. If the label is of someone's nationality, I'm not a huge fan of that either. For the most part, people are people, workers are workers. Solidaridad. But that is one that is commonly used and can be or is relatively simple. And it does base itself on a fundamental fact. The fact being where a nation is from, or where someone is from a national perspective. So you have Americans, you've got Mexicans, Ecuadorians, Costa Ricans. Oh, well, that's very nice. The dog came out to puke outside instead of inside, so that's good. So that's kind of cool. And in and of itself, that is actually just a pretty valid use of a label. The problem comes from ideas that people have about said labels. Now, I don't think that those are inherently the fault of the label itself. I think that's just kind of the nature of humanity. of which I have a relatively positive view. Gross. A pretty positive view of humanity in general. You know, if you want to try to, I guess, label it as, are people good or are they evil? A, stupid labels. B, I believe primarily good with evil tendencies, or good and stupid, or bad and stupid. Those are the ones who are in the news a lot. And I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, yeah. So that's kind of my perspective on humanity as a whole. The nationality one, while still being factual, I don't really see. There's only one piece of evidence, one actual legitimate use for those labels, and that is an attempt to understand a history of it. You know, you can get kind of a sense of what the system was that they grew up in, that kind of thing. And even that's not fully accurate. So suddenly we're talking about, you know, factual labels that then result in subjective things. For example, growing up in the United States of America, a lot of times I saw stuff about the Revolutionary War, everything like that. The Redcoats were not the good guys. You know, they were always pictured as the bad guys. And then when I went to the UK and went to some museums, they were the good guys. It was just kind of weird. Everything is a matter of perspective, obviously. So that was an interesting thing, an interesting failure of labels. There's also, I guess, the aspect of even when you are talking about the most basic labels, there is a trust that needs to be built in whoever created the label. Like, I don't know if it turns out that there is some type of, I don't know, something not good in some aspirin, you know, and instead of labeling it, you just remove it from the label and then ship it to a country that doesn't have as strict of guidelines. Yeah, it gets weird. That brings us a bit into politics of a place, politics of a nation, and the assumptions that we make about the politics of someone based on their nationality. So yeah, at that point, yeah, not good. Not good. Often wrong. It's like the joke goes, or I'm not sure if it was a joke or whatever, but stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason, kind of thing. It is common when they're not just mean spirited or designed specifically to to dehumanize or something along those lines. Then you start getting into stuff of politics. You start getting into the label of politics. Are you left or are you right? And that actually means a lot more, has a lot more nuance to it to make the label essentially useless. And I've gotten I've been involved in conversations online in which that has been that viewpoint of, I don't view you as a leftist, or I don't view you as a tanky or a nationalist or whatever. I view you as a human. And then the type of human that you are, that will come out as we interact further. And a good chunk of those are just completely and utterly wrong. So yeah, by framing the question that way, are they inherently good? Are they inherently bad? They are inherently shortcuts. They are inherently summaries, and they are a victim to the exact same things that every other subjective vocabulary based thing are. And I feel like it is very important that when you hear a label, I don't want to say take it with a grain of salt because that kind of defeats the purpose of the label, but let's just say that maybe labels shouldn't be on people. Maybe labels shouldn't be on something that is nuanced and is complex, because you simplify something nuanced and complex down far enough, not even that far, it winds up losing all value of being a summarizing thing. Yeah, so just get to know people. If you catch somebody generalizing, don't necessarily need to call them on it, but I mean, you could, I would, but just, I don't know, man, treat people like people. They've got their good elements, they've got their bad elements, they've got the things that they do that you agree with, they have the things that you do that they don't agree with. I used to try to simplify it as humans are, in essence, all the same, with the exception of our priorities. We prioritize different things. Now, that still winds up, the more and more I learn, the more and more I know, the more and more I watch society devolve as it is, that becomes, even more useless. The summary didn't change. And I guess technically, if I wanted to take a stand on that, I could go ahead and extrapolate and explain everything. But then again, if you have to explain, that defeats the purpose of the label. So maybe just stop using labels. Put it on your food. Put it on your clothing. Put it on your medicine. Put it on your supplements. Those ones you definitely can't trust. Just FYI. Yeah, go from there, man. People are people. People are complicated. The world that we live in is extremely complicated. You know what's not complicated? It's actually extremely simple. Breathing. So let's do that. I don't remember if the tagline for this is 5 minutes of silence at the end or 5 minutes of quiet at the end, but I might have to change it. Have a good day.